we move to the first news video of the day, and we start with Impact Wrestling, as it was shared on social media that CM Punk was actually at the recent Impact Wrestling tapings in Chicago. Punk seems to be making rounds around the wrestling world, and I mean, his appearance in Impact Wrestling seems to be helping Impact Wrestling, or seems to have helped Impact, because a lot more people are talking about Impact than usually do or usually would. So that's good in that case, but also it's kind of surprising because, as I talked about in the build up to um, Spring Slugfest, there were people that actually thought that Punk could be the person that walked out on Impact Wrestling and made the appearance as the surprise. So technically, those people that thought it was Punk and not Trinity that would be appearing at the tapings or the event, whatever the case is, those people were not necessarily wrong. But Punk just did not appear on camera, excuse me. Punk did not appear on camera, he appeared behind the scenes. And, fact of the matter is, I don't know if Punk appeared for Impact, or Punk appeared at Impact for the same reason why he appeared within WWE, and that is to make amends with some talent. Or maybe it's just Punk opening the door for the possibility that if things don't work out with AEW, then maybe he can make the move to Impact Wrestling. I mean, can you imagine if Punk did make the move to Impact? I think that would be a mistake, but that's just me. I think Punk would be better off in New Japan if he's not going to work AEW. If Punk's not going to work in AEW and they don't want to let him go to WWE, I think it would be better off him going to New Japan if there's anything. Or maybe Ring of Honor. But that's just me. But it's good to see Punk back and making the rounds in professional wrestling again, because I know that, justifiably so, more than likely, all Punk wants is just to go out on his terms. So if this is his way of going out on his terms, or making it happen to where he can go out on his terms, then props to him for putting in the work to change his identity and to change how people view him in wrestling. Because it does require an effort. It does require work, and it will require effort, and it will require work for him to change his identity and how people view him. And it's good to see that he's putting in the work. That's all I gotta say. One thing that I think a lot of people would be wondering about is Alexa Bliss. As Alexa Bliss disappeared from television a couple of weeks before WrestleMania, I believe it was a couple weeks after the Royal Rumble to be specific, I thought that there was a possibility that Alexa could defeat Bianca Belair at Royal Rumble, capitalize on some momentum that Alexa had at the time, balance out her character and focus on things, yada, 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 yada. But soon after Royal Rumble, she was gone, and then it came out that she was being treated for skin cancer. And as it looks like, according to PW Mania, it seems as though Alexa will be making her return to television very soon. Which is, I mean, I don't want to say it's not good. It is good, of course. Especially with the considering what's the circumstances, so on and so forth. But according to PW Mania, Bliss is reportedly wanted for Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia, which means she'll likely return after the Backlash PLE. It is unclear. The one thing that I will say is that I don't know if this means that Alexa will be drafted tonight in the WWE draft, or post haste if they do another supplemental draft after Raw like they did after SmackDown on Saturday. I don't know, I don't know what the plan is there, but the fact of the matter is it will be good to see Alexa back. But the one thing I was going to say is that if they don't have a plan for her, then would it be better to wait to have her come back rather than have her come back and not have a plan? What it seems to me is that they want her to come back to likely be a part of whatever brand, more than likely Monday Night Raw, that they want her to come back to be a part of the Raw brand, hypothetically, and build that brand, without Bianca Belair. That's just, but that's just my opinion. If that is the case, then great, great for Alexa, but I think everything will be good when she does come back. Or I hope everything will be better when she does come back. As far as booking, speaking of returning, Nick Aldis returned at Rebellion to Impact Wrestling, sort of surprising the wrestling world because I don't think anybody expected him to return to Impact Wrestling of all companies. I will say that I genuinely do believe if the hiring freeze was not in place in WWE, then it is more than likely that Nick Aldis would have appeared in WWE. But according to PW Mania, again, Nick Aldis will wrestle his first match in Impact Wrestling on the May 11th television. On television on May 11th. It was taped at the most recent TV tapings. And according to the report, Nick Aldis was working under a short-term verbal agreement when he returned at Rebellion. But as of this week, he has signed an official new contract. There's no word on how long the contract is for, but according to Fightful Select, Nick Aldis and Impact, the Nick Aldis and Impact deal is reportedly in the filling out process, but also that Nick Aldis was more concerned with seeing how things work and having a positive impact on the company, and he didn't want his status within the company to negatively affect what he was trying to do within Impact. Or to overshadow what he was doing there. Which I would say, for no offense to him, genuinely no offense to Nick Aldis. I'm a fan of Nick Aldis. But based on how he left NWA, it is good to see him putting company ahead of... it's hard for me to say that how he left the NWA was wrong. I think him announcing it and broadcasting it was wrong, but his reasoning for leaving was not wrong. But it is good to see him, I guess, trying to change the opinion of critics, I guess, with putting Impact ahead of... And, I guess the best way for me to put it is, it's an adjustment period for him being a spoke in the wheel and not being the top star. Because right now he has got to be a spoke in the wheel for Impact and not the top star, because he goes from being the top star in the NWA to being a spoke in the wheel in Impact, and that's an adjustment. So props to him for being willing to take the adjustment. According to PW Mania, though, again, Impact intends to build to Aldis versus Macklin for the Impact Wrestling World title, likely to take place at Slammiversary in July. But again, props to Nick Aldis for, I guess the best way to put it is being willing to work as a, being willing to work his way back up. You know what I mean? Just being willing to work his way back up to the top of a company again. Especially a company that he's been there before, and maybe one that some people would say is on the level of the NWA. But props to him. I do, however, firmly believe that if WWE was in a different position, that WWE would have had Nick Aldis and not Impact. So props to Impact also for seizing an opportunity to get one of the more highly touted free agents. Now we move to something else, and that is, according to Rocky Romero, if anybody is tired of WWE or does not want to deal with WWE anymore, then the New Japan door is open. Rocky Romero is somebody that has been a loyal employee for New Japan for a very, very, very long time. And honestly, if anybody knows what's going on backstage, it is Rocky Romero. But the fact of the matter is, Rocky Romero, to my knowledge, is not an executive within New Japan. So I don't know how true this is, but also I don't know how much bullshit, I guess is the best way to put it, is going on at WWE at this point, or how willing WWE would be to release people outside of, the grizzled young veterans. But either way, I mean, I guess it's good to know that at least New Japan is in a position that if WWE did release talent, which there are some talent that are worried about budget cuts because of the merger, that if WWE did release talent, at least they'd have a place to go. But I guess what I'm also saying is, does this mean that if somebody from NXT got released, that the door would be open in New Japan? Or are you just talking about, somebody like Karrion Kross or a Johnny Gargano? You know what I mean? But also, before we wrap it up, let's actually check the time. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna wrap it up here because we're running a little long. So I will see you in the next news video.